I think one of the challenges is what is science, right? Science is about making observations, creating models to describe those observations, and then testing those models really to describe how the world around us works. Science is all about trying to understand how the world around us works and creating models to describe that. And so at the time of like the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution and so on, that became a thing more and more. Like, let's apply this to more and more things. Let's apply it to what's the deal with lightning? Is it just God, smiting us, or is there like a scientific explanation? Let's apply it to sunsets and rainbows to try to understand physically how those happen. And so there's this idea of using science to describe the natural mechanisms by which the things around us that we observe are occurring. And that's great. But I think what happens is then as a result, people will then cling to that and be like, okay, if I can explain it with science, that somehow removes God from it. And part of that, I think, is, again, the insecurity of some Christians with the idea of science. They feel like if I can explain how a rainbow works, then it like loses its magic somehow. And then it's invading my faith in God, who created that rainbow for me as a symbol of never flooding the earth again, or whatever the case may be. And so I think that tension comes to rise, if I'm making sense, that people either think this is really just a miracle of God, that he made it happen, or there's a natural explanation. And those are the two options. And so that's where the divide happens. If you're a scientist, you want to explain it, right? Because that's what science does. And so I think many of these scientists went that way, and many Christians and theologians and so on tried to cling to like a very narrow understanding of like all of this stuff is just a miracle of God. And they missed the opportunity in many ways, and not everyone did, but many people missed the opportunity that like, hey, what we're doing is just better understanding how God does stuff. How does he make a rainbow happen? Yes, it is from him, but as an amazing engineer, as an amazing creator, he didn't just do it just by the snap of his fingers. He actually created a whole mechanism by which it can be done and better understood, so we can better appreciate light and the way it can refract within a water droplet in the air so that we get a beautiful rainbow. I mean, it's still an absolutely miraculous thing that's occurring. We can just explain how God made it happen. And so like, to me, I think of science as just discovering the ways in which God made the world to work, made things to happen. And so to me, the more I can understand it, the more respect I have for God. If I try to be an engineer and try to make something, like, it's super hard. Like I tried to build a knee brace for my dog when he blew out his knee, and like, it was just not good. I'm a physicist. I do engineering and stuff. And like, this thing was like, Gus hated it because it didn't do everything it needed to. And so like, I have so much respect for anyone that can create these complex things, and science is immensely complex. I mean, just physics, it would take 10 super educated people to think you have the majority of physics knowledge in one room. And like, that's just one area of science, when there's biology and chemistry and astronomy and biochemistry and all these different areas. Like, it's so complex, and the fact that our creator God made all of that